Coming up on Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Certain owners do unique things with their cars.
Delivering pies.
I'll take Apple. Would you like a trailer for your Boss 302?
Hell no, I'm going to drive it home.
Good for you.
Do you know anybody who wants a Lincoln? We have one in the garage that we have to get rid of.
I'll take it.
This car was sitting since 1989. It had been painted, the engine had been overhauled, but never started.
A truly spectacular garage find. Plus,
guys want to have that nice finish. This is what they're looking for. This is what you want.
Mike shows you how to get that professional finish in Mike's garage. Ready for your close-up?
Makeup, makeup.
Action, take one. Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine, starts right after the flag. Welcome to Cruisin'. I'm John Shapiro, publisher of Cruisin' Times Magazine. There's no ugly ties and bad aftershave at this Father's Day show, nothing but great-looking cars. And it's all happening in Olmsted Falls, Ohio at the German-American Club's Classic Car Show. They're celebrating their 17th anniversary. Come on inside, let's take a look. Where did you find your beautiful Boss 302?
I found it in New Orleans back in 2001 while searching the internet. Just happened to be looking for one of these and found one at a place called the Mustang Shop. I planned on buying the car down there and driving it back. And once I bought it, the guy I bought it from said, well, you gonna send for a courier or a trailer to come and get this thing? I said, hell no, I'm gonna drive it home. And he insisted that I didn't drive it home, and he actually brought it back to Cleveland for me on a trailer.
Did you specifically want a 70?
Yes, in this color, which is grabber orange.
And how long you had it now? I mean, you've been
13
cruising
years.
everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, I've taken this on some pretty good road trips. Took it to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Detroit was another one. It's been to Tulsa, but I trailered it out there.
And tell us about, just kind of give us a tour of the car as far as motor.
It's a numbers matching Boss 302 motor. Original shaker hood car, came with window slats, and the Magnum 500s are original for this car. It's been restored. The paint's 13 years old right now and still looks pretty darn good. I had the interior apart and redid that on my own, and as well as the engine compartment, and some of the engine work I did myself on here. I belong to the Boss 302 registry, which is a great group of guys, and anything I ever wanted to know about this car I can ask on there, and within minutes I will have an answer.
Now, what do you got plans for this summer?
Just enjoy it this summer. I worked on it this winter and got it running the best it's ever run before, and so now I'm going to enjoy it.
Getting your kicks on Route 66. Tell us about your car.
Well, it's a 1925 Model T runabout converted to a C-cab delivery van.
Now, how did you get the name, how did they get the name C-Cab?
Well, C-cab because that is the shape of the actual opening of the doors, if you will.
As in the letter C.
Yes.
And it was once used as a what?
A delivery van, like delivering pies, etc., etc.
And you changed the name on the side to say what?
Route 66 delivery van.
I love it.
I'm a fanatic for Route 66.
And now you've been delivering cruising fun all summer long.
I certainly have.
Tell us about the front end that's missing the grill.
Well, when I first bought this car, it had a sprint car front end, just like the hubs that are on it now. And I converted it and took off the sprint car because I wanted it more into a hot rod with an auxiliary gas tank. And I've had more compliments with that auxiliary gas tank.
Did you add the racing seats?
No, the racing seats were in there. I did add the graphics though for Route 66.
Tell us about the interior.
The interior is actually a indoor-outdoor carpeting, roofs, doors, etc. The floor is a outdoor carpeting floor, if you will.
The door it takes quite a little acrobatics to get in there.
Yeah, it does. It's a good thing I'm a little thin. Not yet.
You got what, steering wheel? Just, I mean, because usually they came with bigger.
Yeah, the steering wheel is a quick exchange. You can take it off just by pulling the pin. From time to time I use that.
In case you have a big dinner.
Exactly, exactly.
Back door opens which way?
It does. It opens out, just a little lever you pull and pull the door open. It is for, you know, anything I want to put in there.
Any horsepower here would you like to tell us about?
Yes, it's a 350 Chevy, built up. It's got a mild cam in it. It is hydraulic lifters, good for cruising. Good for cruising.
Coming up.
I had something that somebody else had, I just couldn't stand it.
You don't have to worry about that anymore. Next on Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now, back to Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now, is this car any relation to Robert Young, the actor?
Well, of course.
Just kidding.
Just
kidding.
Just kidding.
All right, tell us about it. 47 Lincoln, it had more unique features.
Exactly.
Tell us about it. First of all, the engine. It's a
It's a V12 flathead. It's got 138 horsepower for 12 cylinders. Of course, one small carburetor. As you looked into the engine compartment, you also saw a hydraulic pump in there. This car is equipped with hydraulic windows. Back in the day, instead of the electric window, they used hydraulics to run the windows up and a large spring in the door to allow the windows to come down. They used, in the Cabriolet version, they used the same pump, which produces about 155 pounds of pressure to raise the convertible top open. So the same configuration, same type engine.
As we're looking through the interior, I noticed the door, no door handles.
No, there's no door handles. It's a push-button door, which was quite unique back in the day. It was a design by Etzel Ford. Etzel Ford really designed the Lincoln Continentals for the high-end crowd, of course, back then, way back then.
And the seats, I mean, they look like you could a regular sofa.
Yes, they are. And
now that looks like leather.
It is leather. We did it in leather, which back in the day you could have all leather, or you could have leather along with the cloth.
Around the back, Continental kit and a interesting trunk.
Yes. The trunk is quite large. You can get in it. I've gotten in it, really, so when I was installing the carpeting in it.
So you got this, when did you get this car?
2 years ago.
And how did you happen upon it?
Well, we were at my buddy was at a car show, and he has a 47 Lincoln also, and a fellow from up here in north of here by Great Northern Mall come up and said, "Do you know anybody who wants a Lincoln?" We have one in the garage we have to get rid of. So that's how we came about it.
A real garage find.
That was a garage find. This car was sitting since 1989. It had been painted, the engine had been overhauled, but never started.
What's some other unique features as far as outside goes?
Oh, outside, other than the push-button doors, I think that's really the only other feature it has, other than the big wide skirts on the bottom, on the back.
We'll go back to the interior for a minute, because I noticed an incredible radios. All these things work. I mean,
oh yeah, the radio works in this thing as well, and the heating system is quite unique in this particular car. Some of the 1947s and 48s had heaters that ran directly off the manifold. This has got hot water heat, both in the front and under the seats. There's two heaters, one on each side, that supplies heat to the rear passengers.
And I'm looking at your clock, and it's the exact time.
The clock's exact time. I had that clock converted, though, to a digital clock. It looks the same, it works the same, but it's extremely accurate.
What's your plans on cruising?
Well, we're going to cruise it this year. Then over the winter, we'll take it down, take all the chrome off and re-chrome it, because it was re-chromed once, but sitting it pitted, so we're going to redo that. Then we'll repaint it.
And what is the color? What's the official?
This is a burgundy. So we're going to take it back to the original burgundy color. But this has got metallic in it, which I want to take it original. So that's what we're going to do.
Even though the license plate says GTO Mad, as in nomad, this car never existed, correct?
No, it didn't.
So give us the...
It started out as a '64 Pontiac Tempest four-door wagon because they never made two-door wagons. And I always liked the Chevelle two-door wagons, so I decided to make something different, and I made this with parts of a '64 Chevelle two-door wagon. I made this '64 Pontiac. I really wanted, I had quite a few cars, and when I would pull into a show and I had something that somebody else had, I just couldn't stand it. And when I saw this car come up on Craigslist and went and looked at it, I knew what I wanted, and I knew that no one would have one anywhere except for me.
So everything has to be replaced. So in other words, the glass in the back.
All the glass is replaced in this car with brand new glass. Every piece of the car has been fabricated and modified.
Tell us about the back seat. I mean, you had to do tons of work.
The seats are out of a 2004 Pontiac GTO, and the back seat has been widened, and then all the console that goes in between the seats has all been hand fabricated by me out of surfboard foam and fiberglass, and then covered over, and every bit of the interior is all custom, and there's not much original on it anymore.
So those bucket seats are not, where are they from?
They're from a 2004 Pontiac GTO.
So the front too, I mean the front.
Yeah, all four seats.
What about your console?
The console, I took two Cadillac DTS consoles and made it longer and glued it together and fabricated my own top plate and added the power windows and everything in it and some neat switches and stuff, and had it all covered. And like I said, everything on the car is hand fabricated by me.
Is the hood still?
The hood is a factory original '64 GTO hood. The fenders were NOS fenders, all the chrome and trim. I tried to keep the originality of the '64 GTO because I'm sort of a purist, and I know Pontiac people, they are too. But I just wanted to do some, little touches of my own to make it my own.
And the paint?
It's called Vermeer Green, and it's a Toyota color. And it took me a long time just to pick out that right green color, because that's what I decided I wanted it to be, green. And it's all PPG base coat, clear coat.
Now take us around the engine compartment.
It's got a 2004 Corvette Ls1 with GTO covers on it. It's all pretty much stock, but detailed out by me. And a 4-core radiator, and electric fans, and a Lacara steering wheel. And it has a hydro boost braking system also, which really stops this car on a dime. It takes a lot of abuse to build a car in 5 years like that when you have a business going, and every bit of my spare time went to this car, and you can ask my wife.
Let's visit Cruise In Marketplace. Tough Stuff Performance Accessories. All Tough Stuff products are quality made in Cleveland, Ohio using 100% new components. Tough Stuff has a complete line of underhood accessories for the custom and hot rod market. All Tough Stuff products meet or exceed OEM specifications. For more information, visit toughstuffperformance.com or call 1-800-331-6562. Coming up,
You can't build a high quality car anymore if you aren't wet sanding and buffing.
give your car a mirror finish. Next on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Welcome back to Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine.
Hi, I'm Mike, and this is my garage. Today we're going to talk about something that I talk about quite frequently, and that's making the paint job all pretty by doing a wet sand and buff. You can't build a high quality car anymore if you aren't wet sanding and buffing. It's a pretty simple process, but also a time consuming process and something that takes some pretty good care. I've repainted this whole vehicle and I have sanded and gotten all that peel off. So I've already done the pre-sanding and started buffing some of the edges on this, but just to show you where we're at. Now, an orange peel, you know, is almost like it sounds. It looks like the peel of an orange. It has that ripply, bumpy. Well, after you take all those bumps out and you start with the smooth surface, there's where you go. Now, I always use the 3M compounds. A #1 compound, first cut, really will quickly bring it from that dull flat, taking away the shine, right back to a shine. But what it's doing is it's taking all those surface scratches out, but it's also putting some scratches in because it's a more aggressive cutting compound. Then you're gonna step it up to a #2 compound, change to a black pad, and then you're gonna go to a #3 compound with a blue pad, which is so smooth and it just puts a nice greasy finish on, and it just works out real well. You know, I've seen guys say, well, you know, I tried to buff with my buffer, and first thing I ask, is it a buffer or is it a polisher? A polisher that has an orbital motion will not do this. You will never get the shine back out of it. Those buffers are pretty much for applying wax, and that's about it. So we just put a little bit of compound on the pad. Right there, you see how pretty effortlessly that brings it back. Anybody can do this. What I suggest though is if you're gonna do this and you're not experienced, be careful, take your time. This is the part where everybody tends to rush also because, oh, your car's done. You wanna see it done. You wanna get there. You wanna be driving it already. You go too fast, you burn the paint. That's the biggest worry on buffing. Everybody worries about burning the paint. Don't really have to push a lot. Let the buffer do the work. If you do push too much, you can get warpage. You can get too much heat into the panel. You start getting that, you know, where you can move the panel around. It's not necessary. The buffer will do the work for you. This leaves a really nice greasy surface. This compound you do not have to go fully through. You buff it on, leave it a little hazy. Use a nice clean microfiber towel. Wipe it out through, and it turns out beautiful. And I always like to keep a nice detailer around for that splatter you're gonna get. You know, you can get all the little edges, the little stuff, polish her out, and you can easily see the difference from start to finish, where here you have that flat but dull finish, brought back to shine, smooth, beautiful. Guys want to have that nice finish. This is what they're looking for. This is what you want. Hope that all helped, and we'll catch you next week on Mike's Garage.
Coming up on Cruising.
And they traded this car in on a 4-door Pontiac Tempest.
I don't think I would have. It's next on Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now, back to the 16th annual Father's Day Car Show on Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine.
Well, this I've had this 72 Chevelle Ss for the last 20 years. I got it in 1994. It came from Winterset, Iowa, owned by James Rogers. This was the last car that he bought before his wife became pregnant, and they traded this car in on a 4-door Pontiac Tempest.
Oh my God.
So this was the last muscle car that James owned.
And what condition was it in when you got it?
When I got it, it was all painted up. It looked beautiful, but the engine was shot on it. So I've completely rebuilt the engine and transmission, redone the interior on the car.
explain, I'm sure it's numbers matching, knowing you.
Yes, this car is numbers matching. It's what they call a W Chevelle. So W stands for the engine code in 1972, which was for the 454. The last year for this body style with the big block 454.
And your knowledge comes from, you are in the what club?
I am the secretary of the Northern Ohio Chevelle Club, and our organization's been in place for about 10 years now, and we're just a fun group of guys. We held a regional event every year.
Walk us around your car. Tell us about the interior.
Well, as you can see, it's cranberry red, and it's got black interior, 4-speed car, a 454 M22 rock crusher transmission. Everything is bone stock on this car, right down to the 8-track with the meatloaf tape in it.
8-track meatloaf tape, and it works.
It works. It's kind of shaky, but it works.
And you admit to listening to Meatloaf.
Yes, sir, I do. Yes.
All right, you're, as you said, member of the Northern Ohio Chevelles. You're well represented with how many cars today?
Today we brought out about 5 great examples of beautiful Chevelles here at the show. We go all the way from 64 all the way up to the 88 El Caminos that we recognize in our club. You put the top down on a day like today, and it's just an awesome ride going down the highway. Yeah, it's really a gem. It's a gem to drive. Goes right down the road. Love banging through the gears.
Well, that closes the door on another edition of Cruise In. I'm John Shapiro. I want to thank the folks here at the German American Club for having us here for their classic car show. And until next week, we'll see you on Cruise In.